The presence of God is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and grace. I can feel the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
Now let's recite our mission statement together. We welcome all as we create loving community, teach universal truth, practice spiritual principles, and live life abundantly. Thank you. Please sit down. Please be seated. Well, welcome to Unity of Dayton this morning. My name is Reverend Cindy White, and I welcome you, those of you who are in the sanctuary here, and those of you who are online on Facebook and on YouTube. Welcome to the service this morning. Unity was founded a long time ago on the power of prayer to heal our lives. We invite you, if you have a prayer request, there are some purple forms in the seat pockets in front of you, or there's the online, you can use the form on our website and submit a prayer request to us if you would like. But we believe in that power of prayer, and so we are going to pray with you, and today we're going to start the service with prayer. And so, loving God, here we are. We have said yes to being here this morning, and we've shown up in all of our humanness, and we've shown up also in our state of divinity, because there is within every one of us a part of us that is divine, a part of us that is eternal, that is infinitely wise, and that is unconditional love. And so this morning we allow that to be who we show up as fully. And we hold that vision for the world to show up as that highest and best living, loving Christ presence that indwells each of us. Thank you, Infinite Spirit, for this day, for the beauty in it, and for the beauty that we bring to it. And so it is. Amen. Our affirmation this morning, I believe you can find it on YouTube. It's on the description, but if you're not on YouTube and you're here in the building, it's up here on the TV. I practice the presence of God, and I'm open to my good. Let's say that together.
I practice the presence of God, and I'm open to my good.
We'll talk more about that later today. Do we have any visitors here for the first time? I'm not seeing anybody that I don't recognize, but if you're here for the first time, raise your hand. Okay, if you're a visitor online here for the first time, you can raise your hand, but we can't see you. But you're welcome to join us in the service at Unity of Dayton each Sunday. So we'll hold you in prayer until you get here. So thanks for watching online, and for those of you who have been visitors for the first time, welcome home. All right, a special announcement. Oh, we have a sacred feminine. Colleen, would you raise your hand or let people see who you are? There she is. Colleen has decided that she wants a women's group here at Unity of Dayton, and she doesn't really want to focus on a book or anything. She wants to have more of a fun conversation, coffee clatch kind of thing. And so beginning this Wednesday coming up, the 3rd, from 10:30 to noon, she will be here, and ladies, you are welcome to join her. It's just a time to get together with like-minded people and to share your thoughts, your feelings, your talk about spiritual principle, or whatever comes up. Yeah, you could just talk about your cats and dogs if you wanted to, I suppose. But anyway, she will be here for that, so please feel free to join her. All right, moving right along. Oh, we're going to stand and sing now. What is Mine to Give by Karen Drucker.
What is mine to give? What is mine to do? All I want is to share myself with you. So I stand here asking, what can I do? What is mine to give? I give it to you. What is mine to give? What is mine to do? All I want is to share myself with you. So I stand here asking, what can I do? What is mine to give? I give it to you.
Thank you. Please be seated. And now we will have the daily word.
Good morning. The daily word for today is protected. And the affirmation is, I find my protection in the light of faith and truth. I smile and act frightened as I recognize the neighborhood children who come to my door wearing scary masks and costumes. Children of all ages enjoy playing make-believe. Pretend fright is part of the fun of Halloween. Now and then, in response to an unexpected and unwelcome challenge, more serious thoughts of fear seep into my mind and may upset my emotional well-being. At the first hint of unease, I remember that all of the protecting power of God is as near as my next thought. I say no to fear and yes to faith. My confidence grows as I practice the divine presence, discovering not only the protecting power, but also the guiding love and wisdom of God everywhere I go and in everything I do. And from the 18th Psalm, verses 31 and 32, for who is God except the Lord? And who is a rock besides our God? The God who girded me with strength and made my way safe. Today's daily word is protected. And now we have the opportunity again to stand and sing. And the song this time is I'm Choosing Heaven Today.
And the words are in sheets on the back of your chairs. I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing love. I'm choosing love today. I'm choosing love today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing I'm choosing love today. I'm choosing joy. I'm choosing joy today. I'm choosing joy today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing I'm choosing joy today. I'm choosing peace now. I'm choosing peace today. I'm choosing peace today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing I'm choosing peace today. I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing I'm choosing heaven today.
Thank you. Please be seated. And now we prepare for a time of meditation. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is
unspoken joy. In the silence there's release from a world full of chaos and noise. So I wait for these precious moments when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find myself. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release from a world full of chaos and noise. So I wait for these precious moments when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find God, I find myself.
And so I invite you now, if you haven't already done so, to close your eyes and make yourself comfortable. Allow your body to relax. Feel the breath moving in and out. Just take a deep breath and relax, knowing that right now you are enfolded in the light and the love of God. And that that's always true, because every moment is a now moment. So right now, you are enfolded in the light and the love of God. The breath is a symbol of spirit, because like spirit, we're usually totally unaware of it. And yet it enlivens us, strengthens us, and spirit breathes us, breathing life into us as we become instruments for God. In each and every moment, we are open and receptive to divine intelligence. In each and every moment, we can be open and receptive to divine love, because we were created in the image and after the likeness of God. And so divine love is our very nature. It's your very nature. And you can tell that because anything else is a negative emotion. Hatred hurts. It hurts those around you. It hurts your emotional field. It hurts your body. And so at any moment when you begin to feel distressed or disturbed, choose love instead. Focus on the love of God. That part of you that's within you that is always calling you to a higher expression of who you are, of what you are. And in moments when we're distressed and disturbed, we can pray. We can always stand in a place of knowing that as we state the truth of spirit, that we are aligning our minds with God mind. And prayer changes us in that way. And in those moments when we want to feel closer to God, we can always move into a time of meditation, which is simply a time of listening. Because we have so many questions. And when we ask Spirit and we listen, the answers come forth. And so we make it a practice in our conversations with God of not only praying, but also meditating and listening. Listening for that still small voice. It's not found in the world around us, it is found within us. I invite you now to focus your thoughts, focus your mind, focus your attention on a place just back of your heart. There's a powerful energy center there. And as the light of God, the love of God moves through you, you can feel that in that heart space. And at any moment when you want to feel that, you don't ask to receive love. You find a way to give love. For it is in giving that we receive. And so right now, I'm going to ask you to do that. I'm going to ask you to think about the people that you love and the people that you don't love. The people that you know and the people that you don't know. And become a vessel, a channel for the love of God. Allow it to flow into you, into that heart space where you multiply it and magnify it and send it out to the world in a burst of loving kindness, a burst of compassion, a burst of high vibration energy. Send that out into the world. For these next few moments, we will be in silence and we will focus that energy, that love of God, that light of God, as it flows through us out into the world. And in so doing, we become the light of the world. For these next few moments, let's send that light, let's send that love in the silence, in the silence. And so let us take a deep breath together now. And do we think that that's enough? Do we think the world has received enough love at this point? Probably not. And so I invite you to continue this practice, just breathing in, allowing the love of God, the light of God to fill you and sending it out to the world, sharing all that you are with the world. Infinite Spirit, we give thanks for this opportunity to be in the flow, to be consciously aware of the flow of God's love that's moving in, through, and as us. The love in which we move, live, and move, and have our being. So we thank you, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this time together. Thank you for the still small voice for God. And so it is. Amen.
So I wait for these precious moments when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God. I find God, I find myself.
Running around fixing this and that. Give it up to God, then taking it back. Just release and let it go. Don't even have to think about it no more. Get out of the way.
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 Get out of the way and let God do His thing. You look like the weight of the world's on your back. Just take a deep breath and cut yourself some slack. All that drama ain't good for you. You couldn't change what is if you wanted to. So get out of the way.
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 Get out of the way and let God do His thing. Get out of the way.
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 Get out of the way and let God do His thing. The sun's gonna shine and the river's gonna flow. The tide's gonna rise without your say-so. The universe is working and the good is flowing. You don't plant the seed, then dig it up to see if it's growing. Get out of the way.
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 Get out the way and let God. Get out the way and let God. Get out the way and let God do His thing. Yeah.
Thank you, Tony and Monica, and thank you, Doug, for that beautiful song, and all y'all. Oh, wonderful. Get out the way and let God do God's thing. It's not always easy, is it? Sometimes it can be kind of tricky or seem that way. We've been looking at different things about stories that we tell. You know, we tell a lot of stories. I have another story for you this morning. There was an 18-month-old little girl with a severely mangled right leg because she had been involved in a chemical fire. She was found on the streets of Nanjing, China. And the person who found her took her to an orphanage because they had no idea who her parents were. And that mangled leg was in such bad shape that it had to be amputated. And they didn't do a particularly good job of the amputation, but it saved her life. Over time, she learned to use cardboard and belts to fashion a prosthesis so she could get around. A month short of her 8th birthday, this now 22-pound little girl, right? Did you get that? 8th birthday, 22 pounds. This little girl was adopted by an American family from a small town in Michigan. They took her in. They gave her a new name. Her new name was Scout. She had been abandoned by her birth parents. She'd had that horrible accident. She was moved to a country where she didn't know anybody and couldn't speak the language. She wasn't accepted by the white folks, the white kids in the school that she went to. She was the only Chinese child in that town. She was in physical pain a lot of the time because she had to have more surgeries to help correct the problem. I won't go into the details. Ugh, it's grisly. And she felt intense loneliness because she couldn't relate to anybody. Nobody related to her. And that made me wonder, how much pain can one human being endure? That's a lot of pain in a very young life. And as we've been looking at some of these stories that we tell, stories that we've been taught since ever in our lives, story about life, story about humanity, story about God, stories about everything. As we've been looking at some of these stories, we're going to look at another story today, and that's going to be stories about pain and suffering. What are the stories that we tell each other about pain and suffering? And we've all heard that expression, no pain, no gain. Right? You've heard that, no pain, no gain. Well, is it true? I mean, that's the story that we've been told. I think the message behind no pain, no gain is that if you don't have pain and suffering, you're not trying hard enough. You should work harder. You know, if you're not suffering, you know, you're just lazy. And so Scout had a lot of pain, a lot of physical pain, a lot of emotional pain. But physical pain just happens because you have a body, right? If you get a body, you're going to have physical pain of some kind or other. Actually, the body has specialized cells called pain receptor cells. And they're very important. People whose pain receptor cells don't work can injure themselves and bleed to death and not even know it. Pain is a very important biofeedback mechanism that helps to keep us alive. No pain, no gain. That idea doesn't work at all. It doesn't hold up when we're talking about pain in the physical body. But what about emotional pain? You know, you also have emotional pain receptors. When you have a thought that is painful, when you have a thought, I hate that person, or when you have a thought that says, they're just wrong, you know, when you have a thought that says, I'm just worthless, those thoughts make you feel terrible, don't they? I don't know anybody who's ever had thoughts like that and said, oh yes, I feel invigorated by my hate. I feel invigorated by my self-hatred. You know, no, they feel it's negative emotion. It has a negative impact on us. When you have those kind of thoughts, the pain that results is because you're thinking out of alignment with what God knows to be true about you, about the situation, and about the other person, about the world. It's a biofeedback mechanism that tells you you're thinking about this in a way that isn't truly helpful. You're thinking about this in a way that's a lower vibration, a lower energy than energy of love, than the energy of God. Because your inner being adores you, God adores you. And when you don't adore yourself, when you are hard on yourself, harder than you criticize yourself all day long, have any of you had that? Constant criticism. Maybe you had critical parents or a mom. Some of us had moms that like to criticize us a lot. And so we just picked up where they left off and continued that criticism. And we felt worse and worse and worse about ourselves over the years. But there's a way out of that. There's a way out of that. And you know it's not right because it never feels right. So there's a way out of that. But that's telling you the whole way along, your emotions are telling you, you could change your thinking and you could feel better. You could.
Mhm.
So that negative emotion you feel tells you that your thoughts are not in harmony with God thought. Pain and both emotional and physical pain both really serve a purpose. They serve us. They indicate a movement away from optimum high-level well-being, the high-level well-being that we were designed to live. They say, we're away from the harmony of God. Both types of pain, when you're in physical pain or emotional pain, are saying to you, the old stop, look, and listen? Stop, look, and listen. There's a song about that. They're saying stop. Stop what you're doing or what you're thinking right now. Look at it. Look at what you're thinking. Become aware of what your thoughts are or what it is that you're doing. And then listen to Spirit. Tune into God. What is God? What's my inner being thinking about this? What's my higher self? There's another word for it. What is my higher self thinking about this right now? Because I'd rather be in tune with that than some of the things that I've told myself in the past. And then if you want to change, once you're aware of it, if you want to change your thoughts or if you want to change what you're doing, you can do that. It takes awareness first. So stop, look, and listen. No pain, no gain is always true when we human beings are trying to do everything without the benefit of Spirit's guidance. When we think our small, little, tiny human mind that only knows enough, see that my human mind, it knows, enough to fill a thimble and you can still put your thumb in it. There's just not that much in there. I always think, there's a whole Library of Congress full of things that I don't know. But I can tune to infinite wisdom, infinite knowledge. And when whatever I need then shows up for me, whatever I need then is there for me. We have those resources whenever we're listening to our personality, the limited part of us, instead of the infinite aspect of us. We're limiting ourselves, and it can be painful. We can accomplish so much more when we become Spirit-led instead of personality-driven. It's much less effort. Things flow. You're going with the universal current of good instead of paddling upstream against it. So getting to that place where we're willing to let go of what our personality thinks, listen, stop, look, and listen. This is painful. I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to ask Spirit, what's the truth in this situation? What's the spiritual truth? No pain, no gain is also true in the sense that pain really truly is biological inner guidance. Every cell in your body has divine wisdom. It knows how to repair, it knows how to replenish, it knows how to keep growing itself. It just takes the energy from the universe that's flowing in and through your food and everything else and creates a wonderful body and just keeps doing that as long as we don't interfere with the process. As long as we don't interfere, it guides us back into alignment. When we get out of alignment, when you get sick, you don't have to sit down and think, I'll just tell my lung cells to get healthier, and now I have to control the sinuses. And no, your body knows how to heal. It does that all by itself. It can cure a common cold, usually in 2 weeks. For some of us, we've gotten it down to 24 hours. Some people don't catch colds at all. Some people don't catch COVID at all. There's divine intelligence inside the cells of our bodies. And when we listen to the pain that we feel, we gain in that moment awareness and we can make different choices. Just like the pain of touching a hot stove with your hand tells you to stop it. Don't do that. Emotional pain tells us that what we're thinking is causing harm to our vibrational alignment with God, our source. Because everything's energy. Energy vibrates. God is an energy, we have energy, we are energy. So what energy are we aligned with that God energy, or are we like way off somewhere? You can tell by your pain. Your pain will tell you what you're thinking. It's a lot of information, but it's a natural built-in biofeedback mechanism. Okay, I've rode that horse long enough. It guides us back to optimum health and wholeness is the main point. So that's pain. Suffering. Suffering is something entirely different. Buddhist psychology makes a very clear distinction between pain and suffering. Pain happens. It's inevitable. It's because we're in bodies. It happens to us. Suffering is caused by our reaction to the inevitable pain of life. Suffering comes out as anxiety, depression, fear, confusion, grief, anger, hurt, addiction, jealousy, frustration, all the negative emotions that you know. Some probably that you don't know. It's interesting to me that we human beings have tried to turn suffering into a virtue. Yeah. Now that doesn't even make sense when you look at it energetically as vibration, because suffering feels bad, it hurts, it's miserable, it's a low vibration. It is not a virtue in any way, shape, or form, but how many of us are willing to suffer for the people that we love or for causes that we believe in? The Buddha didn't teach about suffering. Siddhartha Gautama was a prince and he went out and he saw in the kingdom that people were suffering. He wanted to find a way to end those endless cycles of pain and birth and death. And so he set about trying to become enlightened and became the Buddha, and he discovered a way to end that suffering in the world in his own mind. Jesus, the Christ, did not believe in suffering. What did Jesus teach? He taught forgiveness and love your neighbor and seek God with all your heart and all your mind. He taught things that would bring people joy. Do not be anxious. How many times was the Bible quoted as saying, Jesus saying, do not be anxious, do not be anxious. He didn't say, oh, be anxious and see how much you can worry about things because it's going to make the situation better, because he knew it wouldn't, right? Suffering is not a virtue. It doesn't help anybody. But we've been taught good parents suffer for their children, right? Yeah. Well, that's a story we've been told, and we get to question whether we want to continue to believe that story. And the other thing is suffering a punishment, because some people, and you hear people say it today, well, they had that flood down there because of all those, whatever you fill in the blank, the people they don't like, right? Whether it's the blacks, the gays, the whatever. They say that bad thing happened to them because they were, all the whatever. AIDS. Oh, they used to say that AIDS was a punishment by God. Yeah, but no. Or just no, but no. No. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, said, the sin, sickness, suffering, and death that men experience are not punishment willed by God. They are the result of broken law. And he wasn't talking about the law of the land. He was talking about spiritual law. And he wasn't talking about making God mad so that he would be punished. He was talking about everything is love or a call for love. Everything. That's a great concept. You want to get into your mind if you don't already have it there. Everything is love or a call for love. And anytime we don't respond to a call for love, or anytime we respond to a call for love with something other than love, suffering results. Because love uplifts us, and anything else is less than love, and it brings us down. And it causes, whatever it causes to the other person if you share your suffering and all that with them. But everything is love or a call for love. So when we're breaking spiritual law, what he was talking about is working in opposition to spiritual law. When we work in opposition to spiritual law, suffering results. Now, one of our very own modern day wisdom teachers, Oprah Winfrey, She's one of our teachers, I tell you, she's amazing. She's quoted as saying, turn your wounds into wisdom. You've heard that expression, turn your wounds into wisdom. So pain happens, and yes, sometimes suffering bends us. Sometimes it does. But suffering has no value unless we allow it to bend us into something more than we were before. Scout turned her wounds into wisdom. When she was 12, she was fitted with a prosthetic running blade. You know what I'm talking about? It's not a prosthesis like it looks like a leg and it's, it was one of those metal blades, and she thought they were terribly ugly. And she didn't want one. It looked masculine. I mean, she thought it made her stick out even more than the other prosthetic she was wearing. But the guy who designed it for her said, I want you to try it. And there's going to be a race, and you're going to be there. And so he put that leg on, and there they were at the track, and there were other disabled athletes there with their running blades. And she started running, and she was a little clumsy at first. But then something happened in her head, and something happened in her body. And she ran, and she ran, and she felt free. She felt whole for the first time in her life. She said, from that point on, I always wanted to run. I had found something that made me feel whole. With that running blade, she felt freedom, she felt hope, she felt purpose in her life. She gained some identity. She identified now as an athlete because she didn't just run, she ran fast. She was amazingly fast. Now, she was only 4'6", but she was incredibly fast. So that sense of belonging as an athlete filled an empty space in her. When she was in college, she was invited to try out for the U.S. Paralympic team. And she made the team, and she went on to compete in the 2016 Summer Paralympics. And in her category, she's the world record holder in the 400-meter run. She's the American record holder in the 100 and 200-meter run. In 2019, she took home the gold medal in the women's long jump in the Games in Peru. Scout wants women with physical disabilities to know that prosthetic running blades aren't ugly or bad. Forgive my language, but this is the only way that she could say it. I could say it by just quoting her. She said, they aren't bad, they are badass. Her words. So now let's take the story to a higher level. So we're writing a new story here about pain and suffering. Let's take the story to another level. Instead of talking about the bad stuff that causes suffering, let's just call it unwanted stuff. Because there's stuff we want, there's stuff we don't want, but the minute we call it bad, we make a judgment on it. And when we make judgment, we stand in that judgment. So it's like the difference between night and day, or light and dark. One's not good and one's not bad. They're just contrast, they're just different. And so our experiences that we have that are painful aren't good or bad, they're just different. There is no good or bad. And so maybe you're thinking, oh yeah, sure, you can say that. You got a great life, things are going well for you. You know, you don't know what I'm talking about. You don't know what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking. And I'm just going to say, I'm just calling us to a higher perspective. If we look at our lives and everything that happens in them from the perspective of eternal spirit, there is only eternal blessing. The good and the bad. There's just experience after experience after experience from which we can gain, from which that we get to pour more love into. And so we can call it good and bad if we want, but that keeps us right in the human condition. And when we can rise above that, we can see it from this perspective of spirit. We can say, this too shall pass. Because we know it will. We're eternal beings. This life will pass. And yet, we go on and on and on. So when we speak from that higher perspective, we know that there's only contrast, there's only experience, and that suffering truly is optional. It's an option, and we don't have to choose that option. So what do? Well, the great physician and metaphysician, Emily Cady, gave a health prescription. She said, the very pain you suffer, the very failure to demonstrate over some matter that touches your life very deeply, may rest upon just this spirit of unforgiveness that you harbor toward the world in general. Put it away with resolution. So what she's saying is, suffering is directly related to unforgiveness, a lack of forgiveness. So practice forgiveness for individuals and for the world in general, because our individual suffering doesn't just affect us. It adds to the suffering in the world. And if we want to be a part of the solution to that, we get to add love to the world instead. A great way to practice forgiveness is to do it with affirmations of truth. We can say, I practice the presence of God, and I'm open to my good. And the presence of God, again, is faith, peace, love, and joy, and other things like that. Now, as a successful athlete, she accomplished a lot in her life. She decided she wanted to go back to that orphanage in China, the place that had literally broken her. It had broken her spirit. Her body was broken. She wanted to encourage the children there. She said she wanted to tell them there is hope, there is love, there is light, there is possibility. She wanted them to know that. And while she was there, she thought about being abandoned by her parents and how painful that had been for her. Any child that has been sent out for adoption and wants to know their birth parents doesn't understand why my parents didn't love me. That's the assumption that you make, is my parents didn't love me. And so they gave me, they just discarded me. And I imagine she probably felt something like that. But when she was in China, when she was at that orphanage, looking around, she had this thought occurred to her. The natural instinct of a mother is not to abandon her child. Can you imagine that burden that she and my father had been carrying? And when she saw it from that perspective and imagined how burdened they were and how hard it was for them to give her up, how painful, 3 words popped into her mind. I forgive you. And while she would have liked to have found them and told them that, in a country with 3 billion people, 30-some years later, it would have been a little tricky. And so she was satisfied with just knowing that forgiveness that she felt filled her with a sense of peace that she'd been longing for. Every one of us can find what makes us feel whole, what gives us freedom, what gives us hope, what gives us a sense of purpose. We start by telling ourselves a different story about pain and about suffering. If we're suffering, we get to realize that it is a choice, it is optional. It's attachment to things that we can release. Let go of suffering and open to the good that Spirit has for you, to the good that the universe is ready, willing, and trying to give to you. But it's hard for us to receive when our hands are clenched tight around our pain and our suffering. So let go of that. Each morning this week, I invite you to allow that to be your affirmation. I practice the presence of God and am open to my good. I bless you and I thank you. Namaste. Thank you, you're too kind. And this is a time in our service when we receive our tithes, our gifts, our love offerings. So if you have something to give today, or even if you don't have a gift to give, I invite you to put your hands together and put the love of your heart in there. And when the usher brings the basket to you, put the love of your heart in that basket. We have an offering blessing we use. I'll say it first, and then I'll invite you to say it with me. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Let's say that together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful. 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 I'm so grateful.
All right, let's bless that offering. Joanne? Come to me. Oh, thank you. Awesome. So we do give thanks for these gifts, loving Spirit. We bless the gifts. We bless the givers. And we bless this world, for we know abundance of bounties. Thank you, Spirit. Amen. Amen. All right. And now I think we have some time for some transformational opportunities. I want you to be very proud of me today. I'm proud of myself. I pretty much did the PowerPoint slides like they were supposed to be done. That's like the first. It hasn't been easy. Okay. So we already announced the Unity of Dayton Women's Group that's coming up Wednesday, 10:30, ladies.
Ooh, November 10th. That's coming right up too. That's a Wednesday evening, and there is a drumming circle right here in the social area that begins at 6 p.m.
Dale and Lisa Boydston will be here banging it out. So if you can bring drums, or you can bring plastic bottles with beans or rice or peas or something inside. You know, anything that makes noise.
Yeah, tambourines,
Tambourines.
rain sticks, whatever.
I don't know about harmonicas. I'm not sure how that would work. Excellent. All right. On November 20th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., Unity of Dayton is gifting the congregation with a mystical afternoon. And so to thank you for your love and your support, this is not something where we're charging to get in. This is just a gift to you. Come and play with us for an afternoon of fun. If you want to learn about and experience opening to your intuition or Reiki, the great energy of Reiki, EFT tapping, ancient runes. There's going to be some guided imagery, and the grand finale will be a sound bath with crystal bowls that Edith is going to do. Eden, not Edith. Eden. Whoa. That Eden Foster is going to do for us. So it will help our planning. If you want to sign up, there's a sign up sheet out in the social area, so we'll know how many to expect. Or if you're online, you can email the address that's online.
So that's November 20th. That must be a Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
1 to 4. Nice. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and you don't have to stay for the whole thing. Just come and partake of what you want.
We're going to be a drop-off for Toys for Tots this year, and we're going to start receiving those toys on November 7th. Oh, next Sunday.
Next Sunday.
So anything for boys or girls ages 12 and under, and I believe you don't wrap the gift, and you know, they're new. Everything needs to be new, and that's awesome. So that goes on until December 4th.
Right.
Okay. Awesome.
Well,
I love that.
There's going to be and if you'd like to help with that, call Dora. The phone number is on our website, or it's on our email. Call Dora or email her. Now, I know this is the 31st of October, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I'm very excited about the holidays. So, on November 28th, following the service, we're going to decorate Unity for Christmas. So, this year, we're thinking we're going to put the Christmas tree, if it fits well, we're going to put the Christmas tree in the sanctuary up here instead of out there in the lobby. And if you have that gift and like to share this, stay after the service, we'll decorate. Okay?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, I forgot that. That's
So on the following Sunday, we'll have Christmas hospitality.
cookies, coffee, not a great big party like we've had in the past because we're still working with stuff. But the opportunity, and rumor has it Santa Claus might make a visit.
Christmas cookies. I love Christmas
Christmas
cookies.
cookies.
Everybody can bring some if they want to share. Yeah.
Bring your favorite
Awesome.
recipes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? You got anything over there? No? Next week, we will be out of town. Rebecca Victor will be here giving the Sunday message. And then the following week, I'll be back, but our guest speaker that week will be Reverend George Wynn. So you want to hang in for that. Come and show them all your love and support.
And we are really glad that we have had those who are watching online on YouTube, and we want to remind them, and everyone in the building as well.
You are the light of the world. Thanks for being with us today.